The Celtics are maybe the weirdest team heading into next season. Between losing their best player to injury, completely overhauling the roster, and a unique style of play, it's nearly impossible to predict what they're going to do. But what can we actually expect from them in 2026, and are they good enough to win a playoff series? Throughout last season, there was little reason to believe they couldn't do exactly what they did in 2024. Tatum shifted his shot diet a little bit, but was playing arguably his most complete basketball. Jaylen Brown wasn't quite as efficient shooting the ball, but still provided that much-needed secondary creation and defensive versatility. Porzingis was battling some injuries and a viral illness, but when he was on the court, he was playing as good as ever, all while Derek White had probably the best season of his career. Most importantly though, when multiple key players missed extensive time, the bench stepped up. Peyton Pritchard had a breakout season and won 6th Man of the Year, Sam Hauser started in multiple games and provided much-needed shooting, and Luke Cornett showed that he could be a legitimate rotation big. As a result, they still ended up with the number 2 offense and number 4 defense on their way to 61 wins. It was in the playoffs where things started to go downhill as they lost a second-round series against the Knicks in shocking fashion. After sweeping the regular season series 4-0 with multiple blowout wins, it felt like a foregone conclusion that Boston was sleepwalking to the conference finals, only to completely collapse in games 1 and 2 on their home floor before getting sent home in 6. I want to be clear in saying that some of their playoff issues were a result of external factors. Drew Holiday was battling a hamstring injury and missed a few games. Sam Hauser hurt his ankle in Game 1 against the Knicks and missed 3 straight. Kristaps Porzingis was barely even a shell of himself while battling that illness and didn't even average 8 points a game. Then of course Tatum went down with an Achilles injury in the midst of maybe his best performance ever in Game 4. With all of that said though, I actually think their style of play had the biggest role in their early demise. Over the season, they attempted 48 threes a game, which was about 6 more than second place. And 3-pointers are the most volatile shot in basketball. When they're falling, they look like the greatest team ever. When they're not falling, the offense stagnates, sort of falls apart, and they can shoot themselves out of games. And because of that, they relied on luck more than most, if not all of NBA history's all-time great units. Get hot at the right time, you sleepwalk to a championship. But get cold at the wrong time, and you can lose as a heavy favorite. In Game 1 of the second round, the Celtics went up by 20 more than halfway through the third. From that point on, they proceeded to shoot 5 of 28 or 18% from 3, while the Knicks stormed back to ultimately steal a win in overtime. Then in Game 2, the Celtics went up by 20 again, this time with less than 3 minutes to go in the third. After that, they shot 2 of 14 or 14% from 3, while the Knicks closed on a 23-6 run to go up 2 games to nothing. Obviously, it isn't as simple as 2's good, 3's bad, but when half of your shots are coming 25 feet away from the basket, you're prone to ups and downs. And that's pretty much been a theme of the Celtics for years. Do things look different with better health? Probably. But now we're entering a new era of Boston basketball, and it could just end up being more extreme than the last. Along with basketball and content creation, another big passion of mine is the gym, and between working out, watching sports, and pumping out these videos, I really don't have time to cook for myself. Fast food is always an option, but that doesn't exactly align with my goals in the gym, so imagine when I found out about Factor. With Factor, in just a matter of 2 minutes, I can get a fully prepared meal on the table without worrying about preparation, cooking, or cleaning up. Just simply unbox, heat it up, and enjoy. The meals are fresh, never frozen, and there's a ton of variety. Maybe I want a high protein meal. Maybe I want calorie smart. Maybe I'm craving seafood. And Factor gives me the freedom to both choose and customize the meals. Eating clean has never been easier for me since signing up for Factor, and that's why I'm super excited to partner up with them to bring you guys a special offer. Head to Factor75.com or click the link below and use code HoopVenueFB50 to get 50% off plus free breakfast for a year. You heard that right. That's code HoopVenueFB50 at Factor75.com for 50% off plus free breakfast for an entire year. Boston's first move of the offseason was to trade Drew Holiday for Anthony Simons. And what does Simons specialize in? Perimeter shot making. Last season, he attempted 8.5 threes a game, good for 10th in the NBA, and while 36% is a pretty solid mark, that requires some context. As Portland's lead ball handler, he had to self-create about half of his looks, meaning a lot of these threes are coming in tight windows off of screens or after creating separation one-on-one. If we look only at the threes he's taken off the catch, over the last 3 seasons, he's made over 39%, meaning that the Celtics have added yet another high-level spot-up shooter. He'll fit right in with Derek White, who made 41% of his catch-and-shoot threes in the past 3 seasons, and Sam Hauser, who made 42%, and Peyton Pritchard, who made 43%. Of course, Boston's 5-out offense is meant to maximize the value of these shooters. But the thing about a 5-out offense is that it's only effective if there's somebody who can break down the defense and make the right reads. For years, that guy has been Jayson Tatum, and he's set to miss the entire season. So the success of the Celtics offense hinges on whether or not Jaylen Brown can take on the responsibility of a lead creator. Some will point to his weaker handle or passing limitations and immediately assume he's incapable. I think between his overwhelming physical advantages, aggression going downhill, and much improved decision making, there's a chance he actually succeeds. Luckily for us, the last few years have provided us with a huge sample size of information to work with. In the last 3 years, Brown played nearly 2,300 regular season minutes with Tatum off the court, which is about 48 games worth. And during that time, he had a natural uptick to his scoring and playmaking volume, but what I find really interesting is that his shooting efficiency actually remained the exact same. There could be a few reasons for this, such as the fact that more of these minutes are coming against bench units, or that it's just a smaller sample. However, I think it makes sense because Brown isn't the type to benefit from the sort of easier opportunities Tatum creates. He doesn't score many points off of cuts, he isn't a great spot-up three-point shooter, most of his offense is self-created regardless, even if there is a little bit less of a defensive focus when he's sharing the court with another star. What's even more interesting than the individual numbers is what's happened to the team. With both of the Jays on the floor together, the Celtics generated a 121 offensive rating, with Tatum as the lone star, 123, and with Brown as the lone star, right back to 121. I'm not saying that the Celtics offense is going to be fine without Tatum. His presence as a 27 to 30 point per game scorer and high-level creator will be sorely missed, and they'll no longer be able to stagger the two, so the bench minutes could end up looking a little rough. All I'm saying is that Jaylen Brown, alongside multiple good shooters, could be a recipe for efficient team offense. What I'm not quite as confident in is what the rest of the team will look like with their increased responsibilities. Pritchard's going to have the ball a lot more, and last season he ranked in the 89th percentile in efficiency as a pick-and-roll ball handler, so we'll have to see if he can maintain that with more reps. The same goes for White. He was in the 83rd percentile, and he might actually end up being Boston's go-to initiator. I already talked about Simons. He landed in the 76th percentile, although I think you could argue that he's the most dynamic creator of the three, who just found himself in a significantly worse offensive situation. With all of that said though, it's worth noting just how much worse their screen and roll partners will be. Because what I haven't addressed yet is that the Celtics basically lost their entire front court. Horford's still unsigned, Porzingis is a Hawk, and Kornet is a Spur. Those three guys were their primary screeners, and if it wasn't one of the bigs, it was probably Jayson Tatum screening to hunt for a switch. Their replacements? Chris Boucher and Luka Garza. In other words, they went from arguably the best pick-and-pop big in the league, another outside shooting threat, and a 7'2" rim runner who could make plays out of the short roll, to two undersized bigs who shoot threes at a significantly lesser clip. The best pick-and-roll big on the team is Neemias Queta, and while he can rim run, I wouldn't say he's quite as effective as Kornet, and certainly not as effective as DeAndre Ayton, who Simons was running with on the Blazers. Ultimately, I think that front court will be their downfall. Not only are they limited on offense and potentially incapable of fielding seriously good 5-out units, the defense is a complete disaster. Even at age 38, Horford was more than capable of switching across the board, executing tons of different coverages, and unlocking versatility for the Celtics, while Kornet and Porzingis were two of the best rim protectors in the league. Boucher's got the length to block shots, but that's about it. He's not strong enough to match up with most bigs, he's not quick enough to match up with most ball handlers, and he really struggles to defend pick and roll, so he's someone offenses actively want to put in the primary action. The same goes for Garza, who just simply doesn't move well enough to keep up with NBA athletes. I don't think Queta's a liability, as he offers somewhat of a vertical presence around the rim through his size and athleticism, but he can be a bit awkward positionally, which too hurts his ability to defend the primary action, and he too lacks the foot speed to switch, so none of these guys are really fit to anchor a modern defense at the 5. The one front court guy I'm high on defensively is Xavier Tillman, who has that Horford-esque skill set between his ability to switch and execute different coverages. But he's really limited on offense, so there's some drawback, and he's had a long history of knee injuries that have kept him off the court. All that's to say, defense is a very obvious weak point with the Celtics roster. They lost their two best rim protectors, their most switchable big, and the team's most versatile defender is out for the entire season. That leaves Derek White and Jaylen Brown to essentially carry the entire unit, and I'd be shocked if they were able to get anywhere near league average. White's a great defender. His skill set is maximized when he's around other competent defensive pieces though, and the same goes for Brown, whose superpower is his ability to guard pretty much every position. But with nobody to switch with, that just leads to mismatches, and he'll have so much offensive responsibility that he might not even have the energy to defend at the same level. As far as their rotation goes, I'm not sure what to expect. The starting point guard spot can go to either one of Pritchard or Simons. I think Queta gets the nod at the 5, but I'd personally prefer Tillman for more of that defensive versatility. They can do a ton of things though. With Boucher at the 5 and Hauser at the 3, they'd be going all in on 5 out, run and gun. Well, not all in, because an even funnier scenario is one where Simons gets the start and they run 3 guards. If Mazzulla wanted to go all in on size, they could bring both Pritchard and Simons off the bench with White playing the 1. But the common theme is that none of these lineups are good on both sides of the ball. Of their top 12 players, I'd estimate that at least 8 of them are guys that offenses would actively look to attack in the primary action. And you'll notice that Jaylen Brown is quite literally the only player who's a consistent threat to get to the rim. That takes me back to where I started with the over-reliance on 3-pointers. Boucher and Simons both attempted more than half of their shots from behind the arc last year. White and Pritchard were both at about 72%, while Hauser was at 84%. This is a team that's going to shoot a lot of threes, and most of these guys are great shooters, so they're going to make a lot of threes. Like I said though, there's so much luck involved in shots that far away from the basket. There's going to be nights where they look ridiculously good, put up like 130 points, and beat great teams off of 3-point shooting. Then there's going to be nights where they look awful, can't make a shot, can't get a stop, and really, whatever side they fall on more will probably be the difference between winning 32 or 42 games. So I'm going right in the middle. I think they'll land somewhere in the mid to high 30s, maybe cracking 500, but between the disastrous defense and lack of versatility on offense, I'd be shocked to see them win more than one playoff game. That isn't necessarily a bad thing though. They've got their first round pick for next season, and a full season of increased responsibility could help guys like Pritchard, White, or even Brown get to another level offensively. Then with the return of Jayson Tatum and some retooling of the roster, they could be right back to championship contention in 2027.